Welcome to the Ultimate Landscape CEO. My guest today is Matt Hunter. Matt brings a unique spin to the to our podcast series as a GM who has become an owner and taken over, bought, and now runs New Garden Landscaping and Nursery in Greensboro, North Carolina. This is a 46-year-old company that he's a relatively new owner of, 12.5 million, over 100 employees, 3 locations, and a very diverse mix of services. Matt takes you through how he got started in the industry, how he moved his way up in different organizations, and then ultimately how he came into New Garden with really the purpose of buying the firm. He first became GM. He talks about some of the difficult decisions he's made to start to really, I don't want to say turn it around because it's a great company, but really revamp the company, sort of bringing it forward, right, into the newest generation of approaches and technologies, et cetera, and also growing the bottom line and the top line. Matt heard about me. He'll tell you on this. He heard about me when I first shifted my podcast to interview style. He heard the first one, called me up, and the rest is history. You'll hear about that here on the podcast. So quite a bit to learn here. Also, if you're a GM or you're thinking of buying a business or starting a business, quite a bit to learn here. And just great business decisions, and really a guy who followed his dream and kept following it and until it really came to fruition here. You're going to enjoy learning from Matt Hunter. Here we go. Matt Hunter, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Jeffrey. I'm glad to be here.
I am excited to have you because you represent so many different angles of our industry, all wrapped up into one.
I do. I've got a very, very unique story I'm excited about sharing today.
You have like a unique story and a unique business, right? So you've got like everything. And so
Yes.
let's jump right in. And so tell the audience a little bit about your current business and the makeup.
Okay. My name is Matt Hunter, owner of New Garden Landscaping and Nursery in Greensboro, North Carolina. We are predominantly a residential-based company. We're about 35% design build, 25% landscape maintenance. We have a retail garden center. It's about 16% of our business. 20% of our business is enhancements, and about 5% is irrigation.
And so how many employees, or did you just say?
We have 114 employees currently.
And 3 locations. Is that right?
Correct. We have 3 locations. We have our main administrative offices where our most of our services are dispatched out of. We have our retail garden center, and we also have an office in Winston-Salem, North Carolina.
Now, you were not always owner of this business. Your story is sort of multi-layered here. How long have you been owner?
I've been owner just a little over 2.5 years. I bought the business in December of 2020.
How long have you worked at the business?
I've worked at the business since I think it's November of 2015, and I was brought in as the director of business development, and started in that position.
Yeah, and then you became general manager of the business.
Correct. In 2017, I became president of the company and ran the company until I bought it in 2020.
So for any general manager listening, wondering if they could take over a business, you're that example. Well, why don't we go back to your beginning? Because you have you have sort of the typical start. Hey, I was mowing lawns. And I guess if you need to, let's start there and take us through your history.
Okay. So my history started in Toledo, Ohio. I was mowing lawns at the age of 12. And one of my very good friends, his family owned an annual growing operation, greenhouse operation. in order for me to keep my dirt bike at his farm and ride my dirt bike at the farm, I had to work helping grow annuals. So I went through all the processes of growing. And then in 1990, I moved to North Carolina with my parents and started working at a retail garden center, Avalon Gardens, in Winston-Salem, North Carolina, and worked there through high school and started off into college at North Carolina State University. I got my associate's degree there in landscape technology, and worked in some distribution and landscape maintenance install, sort of bounced around, and then finally I got married in 2001 and said, I need to go back to college and get a degree so I can really help support a family long term and really grow as a professional in the green industry.
How old were you then?
I was 27.
So you're 27, you get married, and that's when you have the wake up call. I better go back and get a degree.
Exactly. So I went back and got my bachelor's degree in business from the University of North Carolina at Greensboro. And I graduated from there in 2003. I finished a 4-year degree in just a little under 3 years.
Dang, man. You were motivated, huh?
I was highly motivated, and my wife wanted me to make some money. So I finished it quickly.
Excellent. So was that hard going back to school after you'd been out?
It was. I was never a very good student to begin with. I enjoyed being outside and working outside, but I was never much of a student. So it was hard to go back as an adult, especially with a lot younger peers I was in class with. So it was a challenge, but it was worth it in the long run.
Yeah. So while the younger students were off partying, you were...
I was home working some side hustle jobs of dog sitting and house sitting and helping video weddings, trying to make some money while I was in school and helping try to support my wife.
Well, was she supporting you then?
Mostly she was supporting me. My money was just a little bit of fun money, but she's a dietitian and has her own business. So she was working hard to support me.
So then after you graduated, what next?
So after I graduated, it's sort of funny. I thought, okay, I've got this business degree. I was very, very close to going to school and becoming a CPA. And I'm glad I didn't do that because I got a phone call one day from a mutual friend and said, hey, John Deere Landscapes is looking for an outside salesperson. Would you be interested? I said, well, let's talk. So I reached out to John Deere Landscapes, and I went on with them in the fall of 2003, and I worked there for about the next 12 to 13 years as outside sales, and then moved into the branch manager role for several years.
I have a friend he's always been a salesperson, and he says every kid should work in sales at some young point in their life. Now he lives and breathes it, so that's his opinion. What's your view on that?
I think sales, Jeffrey, I never really thought about it, but I agree with him. I think sales is a very humbling career. It can knock you down in the dirt, but it helps you teach yourself to get back up, dust yourself off, and keep going. So I agree 100% with him.
And so you started off in sales, and you went into branch management.
Yes.
So John Deere, was it John Deere the whole time then?
It was John Deere Landscapes until about the last 6 months I was there, and then it switched to Site One. So I was not really part of the Site One company at all.
Yeah. Oh, is that why you left?
No, not the reason I left. I took over as branch manager in 2008, right as the economy started to crash. And it was very difficult on me. I was doing the job of several different people, and I was not the person I wanted to be. So I knew it was time to make a change, and that's why I left. By no fault of John Deere Landscapes or Site One, it was time for me to move on.
So you were not the person you wanted to be that's code for you had to do four people's jobs and you were very unhappy?
I was very unhappy. I was burnt out, and I was a dad to two young daughters and could not spend a lot of time with them. So I was grouchy and irritable, and not the jovial person I try to be.
Yeah. Okay.
So it's going into, sort of my history from there. It's sort of interesting. I've always been strong on relationships, believing in relationships, and it's a lot about who you know as much as what you know. So I got a phone call late one afternoon in 2015 from the past president of New Garden, and he said that he would be very interested in talking to me and want to meet me the next morning for breakfast. Well, my personality, I was concerned that John Deere Landscapes had messed up somehow, and he was going to fire us as his vendor.
Mm.
So I met him the next morning, and he explained that he was going to be getting married and moving about 2 hours away and no longer perform the roles of president of New Garden, and wouldn't know if I'd be interested in coming and starting in a different role, but possibly progressing into president at a point, and then moving into ownership.
Wait, he laid all that out for you in that meeting?
Somewhat, yes. Briefly, yes. And then I needed to meet with the owner.
Wait. But he laid out, come work for us and then work your way up the ladder into ownership?
Yes.
Was he authorized to do that?
He was completely authorized to run the company.
Okay. Wow. I didn't realize that.
Yes.
Okay. Keep going.
So I was very interested, and so we scheduled a meeting with Morris Newland, the owner, the current owner at that time of New Garden Landscaping and Nursery.
Wait, did you go back to your wife and go, yahoo?
It's funny. I went back to my wife and I told her, I said, all right, honey, don't be upset, but I just got an opportunity to apply for another position. And we had just put our house in the market, and we're trying to sell our house and move into a different home. And she said, you cannot move until we close on this new house, because we can't risk the financing or the loan on the home. So it was a very stressful time, to say the least, looking at a new career opportunity and a new home. So yeah. She was very supportive, but also concerned at the same time.
Yeah.
So from there, I met with Morris Newland. We courted each other for several months and discussed opportunities, and finally came together on a starting position. And like I mentioned earlier, director of business development is where I started. And it was hard at that time because Morris had really removed himself from the business for many years, and Conrad had been running the business, the previous president. So Morris
why would Conrad, on his first meeting with you, offer you ownership? Like, had you guys actually known each other a long time?
We had known each other. He had been a client, a customer at New Garden, he'd been a customer at John Deere Landscapes for a long time. And I got to know him really good over the years. I'd never met Morris before, but he knew that Morris's succession would be coming up, because Morris was getting of the age. It'd be time to discuss succession.
Okay. All right.
So Morris and I had, like I said, had several good conversations, and we agreed upon the position within the company. And I started the week after I closed on my home with my wife. So I started, I think, November 9th of 2015, and came into New Garden at that point. And it was a challenge. New Garden is and was an amazing company, but there was a lot of very strong personalities within the company, and strong person.
A lot of legacy employees and leadership.
Yes, a lot of legacy employees and leadership that had been here a long time and did not like the fact of a new guy coming in and having autonomy and being on the executive team to make decisions.
So you came in as the business development head. They invited you onto the exec. Who else was on that executive team?
So at that point, it was the director of operations, the manager over the retail, and the CPA, the controller.
Yeah.
Was on the executive team.
Okay.
So, I sort of watched the company for the first few months and sort of wanted to see how things were going and trying to get the sales team focused and driven to produce more. I think at that point we had 7 full-time salespeople for about a $9 million company, and that was too many. So we made some changes with some salespeople, and
let me ask you a question before you go too much further. So you were 9 million then, or the company was, but it had been larger, right?
Correct. We were almost $20 million company before the 2008 recession.
Wow. 20 million. Wow. Okay. So when they went to bring you, when you got courted, was that also, hey, we need some help here kind of thing?
It was, we need some help right sizing this company and making some harder decisions that other legacy employees did not want to do because they've been with people for so long. And I was able to look at it more objectively with a clear lens and make some hard decisions.
Okay. You're like George Clooney, the guy they bring in to fire other people.
It was, my main goal is I wanted the company to be profitable.
Yeah.
And at that point, we were about at a break even when I joined the company.
Yeah. Okay. So they bring you on the executive team. You're looking around.
And, at that point, we were looking around and I was identifying areas that we could make some cuts and make some changes. And I brought it to the executive team. I had the director of operations was behind me, agreed with me. The other members of the executive team did not. So we ended up making some changes. At that point in 2015, we had 2 retail garden centers that were both designed to be $4 million garden centers. And they were both operating, $1.25 to $1.5 million in revenue. So they were not near the size they originally needed to be. And the market could not withstand 2 $4 million garden centers. So we decided to close one of those down and sell the land that it was on.
Yeah.
We also reduced some of our overhead for our sales department. We took the sales department down to five sales representatives and made those sales representatives / designers. We do all of our own design work in-house. We gave them higher goals and pushed them and trained them and taught them to become better salespeople. And now those salespeople, all of them are each selling over $1 million a year in design work and sales. When I got here, some of them were doing about $250,000.
Wow. How many jobs a year do they sell?
Oh gosh, Jeffrey, that's a great question.
What's the average size?
Our average size is anywhere from $25,000 to $75,000.
Okay. Right.
So it's a couple hundred a year we're doing. We're running 6 install teams, so it's a couple hundred a year.
Yeah. Okay. So you're still business development. How did the transition happen for you to become president? And that's a big title, by the way. That's not just general manager.
No, it was president of the company. I was running everything. It came to that transition. Morris was spending more time, away from the business, with his grandkids, with his family. And, I brought up to him again, hey, we discussed this when I came to work here. I think it's time that we have this conversation. So, we talked through some things and brought it to the executive team, and some of them embraced it and some of them didn't. But Morris made the final decision to appoint me as president of the company. And at that point, we started leading the company, towards higher profitability and success.
Yeah. Okay. And so what year was that?
That was 2017.
And so did he then approach you about buying it, or did you have to remind him again, hey, remember that promise?
So no, so let me back up just a little bit. During the once I became president of the company, the retail manager left. We're going through a transition at our garden center. We're going back to create a plant-centric garden center rather than a boutique type of garden center. We had sold a lot of trinkets and things like that in the past. Things people were buying on Amazon, so it wasn't really successful. And we're not making any money at the garden center. We're losing six figures a year at least. So we decided to go back to a plant-centric garden center, and he did not like that, so he left. And we went through construction of a new greenhouse, redoing the nursery, and then we completed that. And I was, running as president, and that was good. I mean, it's running as president, and things were going well. Starting to see, a little bit better performance on profitability for the company. Top line was growing, bottom line was growing. And then in late 2019, my wife, I had the conversation that, I was going to be 47 years old, and I needed to make a leap, because I did take a pay cut to come to this position and come to New Garden when I left John Deere.
The missing piece of information. Gotcha.
The missing piece of information. So, it was not a threat to Morris by any stretch of imagination, because he was extremely good to me. But I needed to increase my earning potential to continue to provide for my family, and daughters getting ready to go to college, and marriages and things like that. So I talked to Morris, and he agreed that it was time. So we started discussions in January of 2020 about his succession plan. He came up with a valuation of the company. And then in the late February of 2020, COVID hit, unfortunately. And at that point, I thought the world was coming to an end. Yeah. So I put a halt on all conversations about succession, and I needed to lead the company through the difficult time of COVID. So we really tightened down, and luckily in North Carolina, we were considered essential from day one, and moved right on through COVID. We had our hiccups and problems, but nothing major. And then in June of 2020, we picked back up with the succession discussion, and then we closed the deal on December 19th of 2020.
Well, and so when did you call me? Because you called me before you closed the deal.
Yes, I called you before I closed the deal. It was interesting. We were helping serve meals to people that needed it during COVID. So I was on a street corner with my church holding a sign, free meals for people in need. And I wanted something to listen to. So I heard of this guy named Jeffrey Scott. So I turned on the podcast, and I was listening to the one you did with Frank Mariani. And Frank had just had COVID, and he was giving his ideas on how companies should work through COVID and make it through COVID. I said, man, this Frank Mariani guy's smart. But I said, Jeffrey Scott, he's a smart guy too. He asked some really good questions. So just shortly after that, I reached out to you, and you and I had some good conversations. And that's when I hired you as a consultant to help through the succession and work through some very difficult situations we had.
Yeah.
To make it beneficial for me and the owner.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. Well, we'll speak in code and keep that neutral. I think that was a fruitful working together. And had you joined my peer group then, or I think it happened afterwards?
Correct. It happened just a little bit of time afterwards. I think you and I started speaking, right around June, and I joined the peer group in July, and I missed the first peer group meeting because I'd already had a family vacation planned.
Mm.
So I joined in July of 2020 is the first time I was part of the peer group.
Right. So we did it sort of simultaneously.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So, like a little sidebar, what have you enjoyed most about the peer group? Or how has it helped you the most?
Oh my gosh, and I'm going to try to not make this a plug just for Jeffrey Scott, but I just want to speak honestly with the listeners here. When I first spoke to you and we talked about what it costs for the peer group and everything, I thought, gosh, this is a lot of money. I don't know if I'm going to be able to make this work or not. And talking to you and
you mean like the consulting and the peer group together?
Correct, the consulting and the peer group together.
Yeah.
So I said, you know what, we're gonna bite this off and we're gonna do it. And with the different things that you have with meeting the peer group in different locations for our other members. But I think the thing I get most out of the peer group is the trio calls, where we actually have 4 people in our group. So it's not really a trio, it's a quad. But we talk every other week, and we have some amazing conversations. We're held accountable for our actions with the members of that group, and they've helped me grow my business top line and bottom line. And what I contracted with you with has earned multiple times more. So I really give you and the peer groups, and especially the people in my trio group, a lot of accolades for that. Because if it wasn't for you and the groups, we would not be as successful as we are.
Do you mind sharing? And you can say if you don't want to, that's fine. But do you mind sharing your profit improvement from when you became owner to now?
So when I became owner, we were at around 3 to 4% net profit, and right now, we finished last year at 11.5% net profit.
And your revenue, what was it when you took over?
We were right at 10 million, and we finished last year at 11.5. And we're going to budget this year for a little over 12.
You did some pruning as you grew, I suppose.
We did.
In that.
We did. But I want to say one thing, and I don't know if I've ever thanked you for this or not. But it was one of our first conversations before I joined your peer group was, Jeffrey, we're never going to be the most profitable company because we are very generous to our employees and very long-term relations with our employees. So we're never going to be the most profitable company you have in your peer groups. And you challenged me on that. And you said, well, you can still be an extremely profitable company and be generous to your employees. And we have definitely increased the percentage of healthcare benefits that we pay for our employees, added a 401k benefit with matching for our employees, and still finished at 11.5% last year.
Kudos. Good job.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
And your leadership team has changed quite a bit.
Yes, it has.
Do you want to so once you became owner, you want to talk about some of the changes you made? And yeah,
absolutely. So when the ownership changed, once again, I sat back for a little while. I watched, and I wanted to see how people were playing nice together or not playing nice together. And we made some changes to the executive team. Our controller, we made a decision that it'd be best that she moved on. And she moved on to other ventures. And we added our new director of operations to the executive team. We added our marketing and technology manager to the executive team. And then also we added our retail and sales manager. The retail and sales manager is the same person. Mm-hmm. So right now there's 4 of us on the executive team. And
so your director of operations so she's new in that position.
She's new to the position. Yes, sir.
Did you hire her from the outside, or she was a promotion?
She was a promotion. She's been with us 22 years.
What was she doing before?
she led our enhancement teams for almost 20 years, a little over 20 years before she became the director of operations. So she's a very, very sharp lady, and is making big improvements today.
So she's your second in command. Is that correct?
So she is she is part of the second command peer group, and I sort of have I would say, two second in commands. She oversees all the service operations, and then the sales manager, retail manager oversees retail and sales.
Yeah. So she's in the new peer group we also started for seconds in command.
Correct.
You want to hear something funny?
Yes.
This is so Sean Baxter runs that peer group for me, for us. And he said, gosh, these second in commands are so good at operating that when we put them into a peer group, they got it immediately. And they gelled faster than a normal peer group would, because they're just so good at execution that they executed on the peer group concept very quickly. So
she mentioned that to me, and she said, because we're running the businesses every day, we got to get stuff done. And the owners are sitting back and thinking, oh, what can we do next over here? What can we do here? So no, that's great to hear. I'm thankful for that group. I mean, she's doing very well in it.
She's good. I've been watching her in that group. And so you have 2 seconds in command, which I always promote. It doesn't have to be one. Not all companies are built the same. I'm a fan of the book Traction,
yes.
But I'm also like, wait a minute here. It oversimplifies things. And I get in arguments sometimes with people about this. It's a good book, but, and so like in that book, it says there's only one way to set up your company, which is totally not true, right?
Right.
So your company's set up very unique. You have 2 seconds in command, which, really makes sense for your state of where you're at. And so the other second in command is Alonzo, right?
Correct. Alonzo Johnson.
He's awesome. I love him.
Oh, he is. His personality is as big as he is. He's a lot of fun and a great leader.
He's a big guy.
Yes, he is.
Okay, so what is the plan? Give us your 3-year vision for your company.
The 3-year vision for our company is to continue to continue growth. We've improved a lot of our processes. We want to see our processes continue to improve, and then also we want to see the efficiencies improve. We're all fighting the labor market. So we're trying to promote and provide a service with less people. Not trying to get rid of anybody, but trying to do more with less. We are entering the robotic mower market, and our goal is to have 100 robotic mowers in the market by the end of 2023.
Okay,
and so we're working very hard on that. We want to see the design build continue to grow. We have our current design build managers retiring in September. So we have a new young man that's been in training for almost a year. So I know he will have new things to start in that arena. And, we want to see the reoccurring revenue increase. We want to help to increase the valuation of our company and reoccurring revenue to get us through any difficult times we may have in the economy. We're working on the robotic mowers to offer those as a service. We go out every 6 weeks, service the mower, change the blades, store the mowers over the winter, and have that as another source of reoccurring revenue. So, we want to see continued growth, and we want to be, at $15 million within the next 3 years.
Excellent. You really took an old culture, an old-fashioned culture, even pencil pushing. I'm kind of half making this up, but I know there was a lot of paper in there.
No, you're not making that pencil pushing up at all. That's very accurate.
And so, give some advice to the listener how one should think about revamping one's culture if they feel, for an audience member, if they feel like that their culture is old or stuck or old fashioned?
That's a great question and great idea. We were in a pencil pushing era, and we had all of our time tracking was on paper and pencil. The administrative team had to enter it into the computer system every day. We had to print off multiple reports for payroll. So, we've really tried to invest in technology to allow electronics to help us with, with punching in and out of jobs electronically. We've reduced our headcount and our administrative team by at least 2, maybe 3 people by technology. And we didn't terminate them. They either retired or moved on. But I really think you got to be forward thinking. You got to think about where the market is going. How can you be more efficient with less people? And the world's going towards technology, so you've got to embrace that. If you're not embracing technology, you'll get outrun by your competitors. And
so
I want to be leading the competitors, not being run behind.
Yeah. So the owner brought you in to help change the culture, presumably. I'm making an assumption here. What would your advice be to somebody who can't just bring in a mad hunter? What other advice? And I know I'm sort of putting you on the spot here, but what other things did you do, or what other advice would you have for somebody listening?
You really got. I would think about joining your peer groups. And the reason I say that is because I had another one of my peer group members visit New Garden this week, and he said, he's looking. His company is very similar in age to our company. He bought it from his dad, and Lee Townsend put Lee out there. He's a member of the peer group up in Charlottesville, Virginia.
Yeah,
and they're doing a lot of paper and job costing on different types of spreadsheets. And so we talked about, if you're part of the peer group, you have access to these organizations that may have already spent time or effort and money to learn this. So why reinvent the wheel?
Yeah.
Get with like-minded people and learn from them.
Let me ask you another question here. By the way, thank you. I appreciate that. You started off as an integrator, general manager, president title, but you were sort of like coming in through the general manager mindset. Mm-hmm. And now you're the owner. You've got to be the visionary. What's that like to make that transition?
Oh, gosh, Jeffrey, it's been tough. That has been very tough for me because my entire life I've been a doer. Yeah. I see a task, I try to tackle it and do the best that I possibly can. And, so to be a visionary, I've taken a lot of, recommendations from friends, family, the trio group of, you've got to think like a business owner. You can't think like an integrator. You got to be a visionary.
Yeah.
So I've read a lot of books. The one I finished here recently is Rocket Fuel, which is very good about talking about the visionary. Yep. And the tasks that I have to accomplish to work on the business rather than in the business. And I'll be honest with you, it's a fight for me every day. And I'm working very hard when somebody comes to me and asks me a question to push it towards Katie, our director of operations, or push it towards Alonzo, or push it towards our administrative team. Even though I know the answer and I want to tell them. I want to tell them so bad. I want to tell them. But I'm forcing myself not to get involved in daily operations. And, I've got, an acquisition that I'm working on now as the owner, the visionary, another company that was design build that they closed down because the owner was aging out. I'm working with that owner to try to, acquire some of his business and relationships. So I'm forcing myself to be a visionary, but it does not come natural.
Yeah.
But you can do it.
So you're reading books. You're obviously rubbing shoulders with other visionaries. What else are you doing you're keeping your mouth shut when a problem comes to your desk?
I'm keeping my mouth shut. I've also working hard to get involved with within the community. I attend a weekly Rotary Club meeting
Hmm.
and work with other business owners. And Rotary, a lot of people think Rotary Club is just a bunch of old men sitting around talking. And there are some old men in the group, but there's also a very diverse group of people, young, old, different ages, different preferences in life, and getting to know these people. And once again, going back to relationships is one reason why I enjoy the Rotary. So people will think of me when they have a need, or think of my company when they have a need.
Yeah.
Also involved in some civil organizations where we can do some volunteering and help in that area. Once again, trying to be a visionary and see how we can give back for the blessings that we've had over the last several years.
I got to compliment you. You moved very quickly through these different phases of your life. I know for you it feels like forever, but looking from the outside at least, coming in as business development, president, owner, and then when you became owner, you already have seconds in command where you've pulled yourself out of the day to day. You did that very quickly. I think quicker than most could ever pull off. And maybe it was the integrator inside you that allowed you to put that together quick enough to be able to pull it off, to step back.
Well, I appreciate that, Jeffrey, because I'm my own worst critic, and I'm very hard on myself, and I always look at what I got to do next. And instead of sometimes looking back at what I've accomplished or what this company has accomplished and achieved. So your words mean more than you realize, and thank you for that.
That is the inner entrepreneur, because I think all entrepreneurs are always like, what's next? What's next? What's next?
Yes.
And
Yes.
we don't sit back and just look at what we've accomplished. My wife tells me this all the time. You've got to really appreciate what you've done. And, she works with me in our business here. And sometimes you need somebody to pull at your coattails, slow you down, and get you to appreciate what you've done for yourself and your family.
I had that. The first time I really had that feeling was earlier this week when Lee and his executive team came into town, and we described to him where we were in 2015 and where we are now in 2023.
Yeah.
I just sat there and thought, wow, we've made a lot of accomplishments. We've done a lot of amazing things with this amazing team. So to hear that twice in 1 week from Lee and then hear it from you, it definitely makes me feel good and proud of my team and where we've come from.
Were you at our executive retreat?
In New Orleans, yes, I was.
Yeah. So you heard Kevin speak, right?
Yes.
The executive retreat, for those listening, is sort of a private event I put on just for clients to kick off the year. And Kevin does a great job of giving an annual talk where he visually outlines what they've accomplished and the big picture, where they've come from and what they've accomplished, and then where they're going. And that might help you to do like an annual event. And I know you probably do a lot of events, but to do an annual event where you help everybody recognize what you've accomplished, you plural.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's a good idea because, I don't want the field staff to think that we're always pushing and never thankful for what we've accomplished and what we've done. And I need to be more cognizant of that. That's a good idea.
I have another client who did the same thing I just recommended. And in part because his team always accuses him exactly of what you just said. You're just here for the growth and, whatever, they might see it a little bit selfishly. And it's because of the role he has in his company. And so he realized, okay, I really need to focus more on bringing everybody along with me on this journey.
Yeah, I think it's important to do that and just to slow down a little bit. I have a hard time slowing down to thank the people and be appreciative of what we've done. And so my wife and I have that conversation quite often. That it's important to slow down and spend more time, away from the office to to reflect and become a better leader. So
Mm.
that's
What do you do
important.
for hobbies?
I try to golf. And I like to go fly fishing. Got a good friend of mine. We go fly fishing, and then my family. I have two daughters, 18 and 15, and spend a lot of time with them and athletic events and family events. So that's the things I like to do outside of work.
Excellent. Any final thoughts for the audience here? Actually, let me put into a more specific question. Give us a couple predictions where you think our industry is going in the next 1, 2, 3, 5 years.
Oh gosh. Where's the industry going in the next few years? I see some consolidation of smaller family-owned businesses. A lot of people that were got in this business, 30, 40 years ago are coming of retirement age. And then, people that are buying up, consolidation with, the Brightviews or Brickmans or large commercial companies, and even on the residential side now. I think the industry will continue to grow with the cocooning of our society. More people wanting to spend more time at home and enjoy their castle. And one thing I see, and I'm pushing hard for, is professionalism in our industry. That this is not an industry, it's not a stepping stone, it's a career, and people can make a very good living, even from a maintenance crew person or foreman or install foreman, all up to the owner of the company. You can have a very good career, enjoy the outdoors, and be proud of what you do. And it should not be a stepping stone, it should be a career. So that's
how I talk about what our vision here is at Jeffrey Scott Consulting with our team here internally. Is our goal is to help professionalize the industry.
Yes.
And that's really everything that we do here is really aimed at that exact same goal. I like that you mentioned cocooning, because I just wrote about this recently, and I may have talked about this on another podcast, but that term was coined by a futurist named Faith Popcorn. I don't know if that name rings a bell. And she coined the term cocooning back in 1981, I think. I saw her speak way, way, way back then. My dad took me.
Okay.
And she was like predicting, maybe it was already happening then, but she was predicting this cocooning trend. And oh my gosh, this trend has been picking up speed that's over 4 decades.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is it 4 decades or 3? 81, 91, 2001, 2000. Yeah, it's 4 decades.
Forward. Yeah.
And it's still accelerating. Like, that's just mind blowing that something could keep accelerating for that long. Now, there's also a theory that our universe is still accelerating. So, okay, things can accelerate for quite a long time. But back here on the human level, 4 decades and it's still picking up speed is really amazing.
It is. And, it's great for our industry. And I think it's good with the cocooning in society is people spending time outdoors. I think it's good to help relieve stress and enjoy the outside. Amen.
Matt Hunter, I appreciate you coming on, sharing your story.
Thank you, Jeffrey. I appreciate the invite, and very appreciative for you and all that you do for our industry.
Well, I appreciate that, the kudos there. And I will see you shortly in Vermont.
Looking forward to it. Just a couple weeks away.
All right. We'll see you then, Matt.
Thank you, Jeffrey.